are back at Krugel's Georgetown Deli and Beer, beginning of the fourth season. Thanks for coming back on with us, Kevin. It's great to see you again.
Congratulations on your new season.
All right, great. Now, what are we going to talk about today? We're kind of in between. It's the end of the summer. Yeah. It's the beginning of the fall. What are we talking about today?
There's one beer that catches more shade than any other beer out there.
And what beer would that be?
Pumpkin beers.
Yeah, some people don't really like it that much.
No, some people don't.
Some people love it, though.
Some people do, but in their defense, you know, there are a lot of funky pumpkin beers out there.
True, true.
It's interesting that pumpkin beer gets the reputation that it gets, because really pumpkin beer is the most American beer you can possibly drink. There's references to making alcohol out of pumpkins going back to the mid-1600s.
Wow.
And there's two very simple reasons for that. Well, one, the early settlers here, they didn't have any grain. So they had to use what they had. And second, pumpkins are huge. Yeah. There's a lot of meat on there, and the sugar's got to come from somewhere.
Makes sense.
So that's just what they did. And up until the early 1800s, pumpkin was in everything.
So you're saying like pumpkin pie and the first Thanksgiving, that wasn't just a story?
No, that was a story. That was no joke.
They're
they
eating
ate a
pumpkin,
lot
they're
of
wearing
pumpkin.
pumpkin, they're bathing in pumpkin, they're drinking pumpkin.
That's it.
Pumpkin everything.
That's right. And then in the early 1800s, people stopped liking pumpkin. You know, probably because they had to eat a lot of pumpkin.
Probably, yeah.
So what was it? In the 1980s, there's a brewery called Buffalo Bill's Brewery out of Haywood, California. And they resurrected the pumpkin beer recipe, inspired by none other than George Washington's recipe himself.
So why don't we go to the fridge and get ourselves some pumpkin beers? And our first beer for the fridge is Saranac.
Saranac is one of the most popular ones on the shelf. And what you're looking at is what you would call a classic pumpkin pie style beer.
So if someone wanted a pumpkin ale, this is probably the first thing that they go for.
It's light, you know. It's the IBUs are non-existent. Mm-hmm. You know, the hops are non-existent. It is what it says it is.
Right.
You could drink a couple of these.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't see why you couldn't drink a couple of these. The spices aren't overpowering.
No, the spices are there, but it's not really hoppy.
This would be a perfect party beer.
There you go. Because
Right?
you're right, it is pretty crushable. It's pretty easy to drink.
Yeah.
And for our friends who don't like craft beers like we do, this would be perfect for them, I think. You know, the Miller Coors Bud people, you want to try a pumpkin beer that's not overwhelming, it's not too crazy with the pumpkins and the spice.
Yeah.
This is it. And next up we have Brains Pumpkin Ale for Zombies by Springhouse, which is located in Lancaster.
Lancaster.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania beer. You haven't been able to get this in this part of Pennsylvania for quite a while.
Well, that's great.
It's back in town.
Back in town, yeah.
And people are really liking it. Let's give it a shot. Smell is different immediately.
Totally different than the last one.
Totally different.
Oh, wow. There's another
Vanilla?
flavor there. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe vanilla?
Yes, there is. And it's maltier.
It's heavier, it's maltier.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a bigger beer to begin with.
It's
so
already a bigger beer.
there's going to be more stuff in that. It's going to be heavier. It's going to be more robust of a beer, if I could use
The
that.
vanilla is interesting. I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever had a pumpkin beer with this much vanilla in it.
I don't know how many of them I could drink.
If you've tried pumpkin beers before and you want to try something different in the pumpkin world, then this is another one.
And now we have something by Evil Genius, Trick or Treat Chocolate Pumpkin Porter.
Yeah.
I've had this before. I like this beer.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's a different take on a pumpkin beer. Most of the beers you're going to see are going to be ales, so they're going to be different colors of amber.
Right.
Right now, this one's a porter, so clearly it's a black beer, while not being as heavy as a stout.
Right.
So it's going to have some chocolate components to it. Let's give this a
Okay,
shot.
it's not a bad nose. Smell a little bit of chocolate.
Yep, get the pumpkin in right away. You smell the spice. Yeah, that's neat. I like that beer. A little bit of bitter note on the background, though. I think the chocolate kind of dries it out almost.
I don't think I could drink this one all night either, but it's tasty.
I could drink this all night.
You can.
I could drink this all night. I like this.
I don't really think they have a bad beer. They're a really good brewery to begin with.
Piston.
That's right. They're local-ish. Local-ish,
Local-ish.
right?
Sure.
Yeah. That's right. And okay, explain to the viewers about their brewery in Pittston.
So they're brewed at SBC.
Okay.
Right. SBC contracts out their stuff, and so that's kind of how SBC's been making money over the years. They brew a lot of stuff. They even make Monster Energy drinks over
How
there.
about that?
But yeah, they make they brew some, if not all, of the Evil Genius that we get around here. In fact, I've even heard there's certain ones that we can get up here that they can't even get down in Philly at the brewery.
I like that. All right, let's move on. What's next?
Let's see what we got.
Okay, next up, we have a beer that I suggested, actually, because This was a beer that I found in the back of my fridge that I aged actually accidentally. It's the Voodoo Ranger Atomic Pumpkin. I like this beer. I've had it before. It's pretty unique.
Yeah, it's New Belgium product. So what's the other New Belgium stuff? Fat Tire, right? All that series.
Another great brewery.
This is Atomic Pumpkin, and I guess this one it says pumpkin ale featuring cinnamon and habanero chili peppers.
It's the habanero chili peppers that get you. So there's a little bit of bite to it.
All right, let's give this a shot. I actually don't smell much off of the top. I don't get a lot of smells.
No, there's not a lot of nose to it, but there's a little bite to it. Take a nice good sip of it. You could taste the pepper.
That's neat though. The cinnamon hits you first.
Yeah.
This is definitely not a pumpkin pie beer.
No.
This is very different from the Saranac. This is not.
It's atomic pumpkin.
It's atomic.
It's atomic. There you go. It's nuclear.
Nuclear.
I like to say this is a one and done because you can't really drink this all night. I think the pepper will get to you after a while.
The pepper will, but what I'm getting with the spice is more like the natural spiciness of cinnamon just turned up a little bit. If I didn't know there was habaneros in this, I don't think I would have picked it out.
Yeah, so if you want something different, again, here's another thing another beer you could check out.
Yep.
And it's a little different because
Absolutely.
the cinnamon. And you're right, there's a lot more cinnamon in here than
More, I mean, the others have clove and allspice and stuff, but this is just cinnamon.
And finally, we have Weyerbacher Imperial Pumpkin. I love this beer.
The most American of beers, right? Pennsylvania has the most pumpkin patches of any state.
How about that? And this is made with real pumpkin too, right?
Made with real pumpkin, absolutely.
Okay.
They put real pumpkin in this beer, and we would also call this a pumpkin pie style beer, but this is what pumpkin beer should taste like. If this beer scores as the best pumpkin beer on, I don't know, every list I've ever seen. It's always up at the top.
I can't argue because it's an excellent beer.
It's good.
It's a perfect balance.
There it is.
Of pumpkin with the spice. It's a great tasting beer.
It's great.
It's not overly heavy. There's not the back end of it's really good. It's great. It's a fantastic beer. I love it.
8% alcohol too.
And it's a big beer.
It's a pretty big beer. I like this beer.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm finishing this one.
No, go ahead. There's a great nose to it.
Yeah.
All in all, yeah, it's one of my favorite pumpkin beers, if not my favorite pumpkin.
This is what it should taste like.
Yeah.
This is, people who say, "Oh, I hate pumpkin beers." Well, maybe you do hate pumpkin beers, but also maybe you've never tried Weyerbacher.
Okay, they're the pumpkin beers.
What's my favorite holiday?
St. Patrick's Day. Come on.
Too easy. What's my second favorite holiday?
A 119th wedding anniversary.
Exactly. German St. Patrick's Day.
That's Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest.
All right. So in front of us right now, we have a bunch of what's considered Oktoberfest beers. First thing we have to talk about, what is Oktoberfest actually? Like, historically, what is it?
It's a wedding anniversary.
I like that.
In 1810, Crown Prince Ludwig I married Princess Teresa of Saxonia-Hildburghausen. So it started off as a wedding celebration, and then they just did it the next year, and they're still doing it 119 years later.
And the next year. And the next year.
That's what it is. There's a horse race as well. So the history of Oktoberfest really reflects the actual history of brewing technology itself. In the very beginning, in the early 1800s, the only beers that they really had were what we would consider dunkels, dark lagers, okay? But as the technology improved, they're able to more finely tune their malt toasting process. Okay. So as time goes on, beers got lighter and lighter. So in 1841, Spaten invented the Marzen style. So a little bit amber in color, malty, a little caramelly.
It tastes like a German beer to me.
Yep. So this style, for over 100 years, was the official beer of Oktoberfest. So now, the American style is more closely related to the Marzen when we're talking about Oktoberfest. So this is a Stegmaier Oktoberfest beer.
Right.
Now, this is also a Marzen, and you can see the colors are very similar to each other.
I taste a pretty big difference, though.
There is a difference, yeah. A little bit smoother, yep. It's a little more, and that's probably because it's a little maltier, right? There's probably a little bit more sugar.
There's a lot more malt in that than the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? But cheers to Stegmaier, because it's another good beer.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I absolutely love Stegmaier.
Yeah. So actually, Oktoberfest isn't an officially recognized style by the judging guide. The style.
It's either a Marzen or a Fest beer, right?
Right. In the 1970s, Polaner invented the Fest beer, and that was a reflection of how more finely they were able to tune the toast of the malts. So it's a much lighter toast, and it ends up being a much lighter beer. So you've got a golden color beer versus an amber color beer.
Okay.
So this one's going to be Warsteiner. There's one reason why beers for Oktoberfest have gotten lighter.
Why is that?
Chugging. These beers are designed to be chugged. That's what Oktoberfest is all about, and they're all about just getting it down. So it's lighter, it's hoppier, it's brighter.
Now, this is a Warsteiner.
And it doesn't have that bite at the end.
No, Warsteiner, this is a very good beer. I have a long relationship with this. I remember drinking this long time ago when I was just getting into the craft beers. This was a German beer a friend of mine, Ed, brought out for us. It was in a keg, small little keg. We went out to the woods.
Keg cans.
Went out to the woods and drank it. I didn't really like it that much. I like it a lot more
Time
now.
and place. Beer is always time and place.
Absolutely. This is a good beer, and this is the Fest beer style.
This
correct?
is what you would call Fest beer.
Okay.
So most of the time when you think about Oktoberfest, you really associate the darker, maltier stuff.
Right.
But it hasn't been that way for decades in Germany.
All right, you did mention that Oktoberfest is about chugging. What are we chugging here?
We're going to do a Warsteiner.
Okay.
We got to do it Munich style.
And in honor of Oktoberfest, we're going to chug because that's what you do in Oktoberfest, I guess so.
This beer's designed for it. Let's test it out.
All right, let's try it. I can't chug. He can, not me. Kevin, thank you for being on the show again, and we'll see you next time on Wine, Hops, and Road Stops from Krugel's Georgetown Deli and Beer.
Thanks, Jeff.
I'll sip this.